So we're going to try some word problems using fractions and using some of the tools that we've been working on with fractions in the last few videos. So here's our first word problem. It says a board measures 64 5/8 inches and needs to be cut in half. Find the length of each half. So let's suppose this is our board and we need to cut it in half. So that means that we want to take our 64 5/8 inch board and make two pieces out of it. So we actually want to divide it by 2 so that we can see the length of each half of this board. Okay, now before we can divide these fractions, we have a mixed number here, and we're going to have to change that mixed number to an improper fraction so that we can do our flip and multiply. So changing 64 5/8 into an improper fraction is you're going to take the 8, multiply it times the 64. So these two get multiplied, 64 times 8, and then you're going to add this 5 plus 5. 64 times 8 is 512, and then 512 plus 5 is 517. So this is this 64 5/8 is going to be 517 over 8. And we're dividing that by 2 over 1. Now we do our flip and multiply. 517 over 8 times 1 over 2. Here we're going to go ahead and multiply across because we have no way to reduce those. And we have 517 over 16. Let's get it back into a mixed number. And 16 goes into 51 3 times. 3 times 16 is 48. I'm going to subtract those. 16 goes into 37 twice. 2 times 16 is 32. And our remainder is 5. And we're going to make a fraction out of that. So each half of our board is 32 5/16 inches. Easy to check, isn't it? Because if we add these two, we should get our original 64 5/8. So let's see if it does. And easy to add these two because they already have a common denominator. So we have here 10 over 16. That's a 10. And here we have 64. And of course our 10 over 16 reduces to 5/8 because they're both even. So that checks. This problem says that an athlete jogs 1 3/8 miles. So 1 3/8 miles. Then 5 3/4 miles. And then 3 5/8 miles. Okay, so let's suppose this is our athlete and he jogs 1 3/8 miles, then jogs another 5 3/4 miles, and then another 3 5/8 miles. In all, how far does the athlete jog? So looking at our picture, we know that to figure out the total miles that the athlete jogs, we're going to have to add these three fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite them here vertical because we know that we're going to have to find a common denominator, right? So we're looking now at 8 and 4. Common denominator between 8 and 4. If you said 8, you're right. So this fraction is already, it has the right denominator, so I'm not going to change it. This one, I multiplied 4 times 2 to get 8, so I'm going to multiply 3 times 2, so this will be a 6/8. And here the 3 and 5/8 already has the right denominator. So let's add those. Keep the 8. And we're going to add the 3, the 6, and the 5. And when we add those, we get 14. And then here we have 1 plus 5 is 6, so we have 9 and 14/18. This is an improper fraction. We can't leave it like that, so let's do our long division here. Oh, by the way, it's also even, isn't it? Let's reduce that first. So let's take out a 2 out of here. That leaves a 4. And here we leave a 7, so we have 9 and 7/4. And we're going to do our long division. 4 goes into 7 once. And our remainder is 3. So 7/4 is really 1 3/4, and we're going to add that to the 9 that was already there. So the jogger jogged 10 3/4 miles.